Good evening, all. Welcome to day 8 of Impulse Intensive Mentoring Program for upcoming leaders in signal processing. Today's session on all about CVPR and ECCV will be handled by Densen Puthussery and Hrishikesh PS. Welcome, Densen and Hrishikesh. Densen Puthussery is a machine learning engineer at Founding Minds. He completed his MTech in signal processing from College of Engineering, Trivandrum. Before that, he did his BTech in Electronics and Communication from Jai Bharat College of Management and Engineering Technology. Hrishikesh is also a machine learning engineer at Founding Minds. He also completed his MTech from College of Engineering, Trivandrum. Before that, he did his BTech in Electrical and Electronics Engineering from GEC Thrissur.
Yeah, thank you, Jacob, for your warm welcome. Now, you're all able to see the screen, right?
Yes, we can see it.
So it's great to see this much of computer vision and AI enthusiasts together on this platform. So basically in this session, we'll be giving you a gentle introduction and some insights into top-tier conferences in computer vision like CVPR and ECCV. So, although I know you already gave an introduction, just to tell us background from our side, I am Densen from Founding Minds, and joining me is Hrishikesh PS. We are currently ML engineers at Founding Minds Software, and our field of expertise is computer vision, actually object detection and image restoration to be precise. Now, currently we both are working on their ML-based products and services. And just to give a background of what FMS is, Founding Minds is a product and technology incubator serving customers all over the world. We have both software and ML-based services. Our research lab is expertise in machine learning, artificial intelligence, natural language processing, computer vision, and Internet of Things. Backed by our vibrant team, we help our clients to bring their ideas to life by accelerating their product development. Now, before jumping into what conference is, what ECCV is, and what CVPR is, before that, I just want to give you a note on what a scientific article is. Scientific articles are primary channels through which you showcase your findings to the research community. The research community is often comprised of academics, academicians and people from the industry as well. So the research articles are kind of critical to the evolution of modern science. Why? Because usually in the research, the work that you did is almost invariably built on top of the work of other researchers before you. So like unlike literary articles, which are designed to impress people, the research articles are designed to impress people. And as such, the research articles are written in a way that they are clear, they should be accurate, they should be concise, and above all, they should be easy to read. Now, the stakes involved in publishing a research article is high. Why? Because a false research claim can mislead the community and waste the efforts that is being put forward by follow-up researchers. Now, it not necessarily meant that one fabricated the results. There is also a chance that the author was factually wrong from the start itself. So since these and a lot more dynamics are involved in designing a research publication, there has to be some kind of common platform, a set of evaluation metrics, and a set of rules that can monitor this kind of publications. Now, this is where the technical associations like IEEE or the Computer Vision Foundation come in. IEEE, for example, hosts a lot of conference where the researchers can get their work published. Such conferences often prerequisites that the authors should stick to a certain writing style, a certain pattern, and usually a rigorous review process is involved before these scientific articles are deemed to be publishable. Now, depending on the domain of focus, the writing style, the community being addressed, these kinds of platforms itself varies from each other. Next, let's see what the different type of scientific articles are. So on a high level, we can say that the research articles are categorized into three. One is journal, second is the conference, and third are workshop papers. So I'm saying this from a comparison point of view, okay? So a journal is a periodical publication that focuses on a certain discipline. It contains a number of peer-reviewed papers that are generally considered to be credible, and these are also really awesome sources to cite from. Journal papers are often considered to be archival. That is, at least in theory, we can say that someone may want to read this from 20 or 50 years from now. So in some disciplines, the journals may be presumed to be of a higher standard than the conference papers. But this cannot be said universally for every case and every domain, because there are top tier conferences that are sometimes as good as, or even in cases that are better than journals, better than many journals. And you can find this type of conferences in computer science, like CVPR and ECCV are top tier conferences. Like I said, these are better than many of the journals in computer vision. Now, the classical model of a academic publication was that someone would present an extended abstract of a paper in a conference or a workshop, and a complete paper will be later published in some kind of other journal. So, but this was in the past. Now, this is no longer considered as a norm or a standard. Like currently, earlier the journals would say that 30% more material is necessary for publishing compared to what you published in your previous conference or the workshop. But currently the trend is that the journal, if you are submitting to a journal, it should not have 30%, more than 30% overlap with what you already published in the past. So this means that a conference paper may be the end of the road for reporting some kind of, for the work that you did. And further publication may not be possible unless you really innovate your existing solution. A conference, on the other hand, is a place where the scholars, the researchers, professors, and other academicians, as well as the people from industry, gather to discuss the research and developments in that particular field. Now, in most academic conferences, people gather to present their newest research, while there will be many attendees who are witnessing these milestones. So research is often presented, the conference papers are often presented orally with visualization. That means you can expect a lot of PPT and PowerPoint presentation and other visual systems modalities when you are presenting in a conference. Now, conference papers are usually short, they are concise, there will be a limit of number of pages allowed. For example, even for journal, there is a limit on the pages, but usually the limit of pages for the conference is often much shorter than that of compared to that of a journal. Now, the revision process for a journal paper undergoes a very meticulous peer-reviewed process. It's far more detailed than that of a conference version, and it takes a really long time before a journal is actually published when you compare that with a conference paper. The difference between a workshop and a conference is that the workshops are generally much smaller than a conference, and usually last for a couple of days maybe, and these are actually dedicated to a specific, discussing a specific topic, which is much more narrow when compared to that of a conference. And in many conferences, the workshops are actually presented as hosted as a sub of that conference. We'll see such examples in the later slides. Also, the workshops have a really high acceptance rate. And recently, many workshops are hosting various competitions that gives new researchers a platform for taking off their research. And we'll be discussing about these competitions and other perks in later slides. And since our topic of discussion is two of the best conferences in computer vision, let's dive in a little bit deeper into conferences. What a conference is to you depends on who you are. For an academician, a conference is a venue to present their research output and steer the community toward innovation. This, of course, is the primary intent of a conference. Also, as an audience, you can get your queries answered in person regarding the scientific paper that is being presented at the conference. Additionally, it's also a platform where the academicians from different backgrounds, like maybe computer science or mechanical, or even from different domains, can collaborate to work on a subject of common interest. Like maybe researchers from a computer vision and NLP or other audio modalities. They can collaborate to come up with a new set of to define a new set of problems, or to address some, and to find really innovative solutions. So all these are possible through academic collaboration, and these conferences are a really good platform for that. Now, this can happen with industry as well. Like the industries can rely on the academicians to achieve their research milestones in a mutually beneficial collaboration. And top-tier conferences almost invariably host sessions from pioneers in research domain. It's an opportunity where one can interact with them in person and to get their queries answered as an industrial. Now, secondly, if you are an industrial personnel, it's a venue for you to market your innovations. Many of these conferences have partners from industry who co-sponsor the events. Some of the conference, maybe they may be sponsored by Google, Waymo, or Amazon, Alibaba, etc. So it's an opportunity for such companies to attract the audience with their innovative products. More on that will be shown by Hrishikesh. Additionally, many of these firms attend this event. Who are attending this event have a dedicated R&D team. They may have produced really good research publications in the domain being focused. So it's an opportunity for such firms to display their sheer R&D competence and attract many clients. Moreover, many firms that takes part in these kinds of conferences, they offers recruitment opportunities to scholars, to students, and developers alike in such conferences to advance their workforce to meet the product milestones. Now let's see how the conferences and journals are ranked. So before going into detail on how our conferences and researchers vary, let's see what's a citation. A citation has its literal meaning. That is, it's a reference to a source of information used in your research. Citation is one of the most common way to analyze the research, the reach or impact of your research. There are many methods with which a researcher the work of a researcher can be graded. Let's discuss the prominent two methods that is used by Google Scholar. They are H-index and item index. The H-index is defined as the maximum value of H, such that the given author or a journal has published at least H papers that have been cited at least H times. I know it's kind of complex at first, but let me simplify it in this way. Like if an author's index is H, for example, then is I mean, sorry, not as if it's n, let's say for example, then it means that the author has n publications that each have at least n citations. For example, if an author has 5 publications, let's say with 9, 7, 6, 2, and 1 citation, then the author's H index is 3, because the author has 3 publications with greater than or equal to 3 citations. Now, item index is the number of publications of an author with at least 10 citations. This is one way to help gauge the productivity of a scholar. The impact factor or journal impact factor of an academic journal or a conference is it's an index that calculates the ratio between number of citations to the number of articles published in the last 2 years in that particular given journal. So obviously a higher impact factor means that that particular journal is deemed to be more important, or we can say that it's much more prestigious than compared to the ones that have much lower impact factor. Now, in case of journals, there is another primary metric called as quartile for ranking. The quartiles rank the journals from highest to lowest based on their impact factor or impact index. And there are 4 quartiles like Q1, Q2, Q3, and Q4. Q1 is occupied by 25% of the journals in the list. Q2 is occupied by the ones that fall into 25 to 50%. Q3 from 50 to 75, and Q4 the rest. It's kind of self-explanatory from the name. And the most prestigious journals within a subject area are those occupying the first quarter, Q1. And I don't intend to give a detailed description on the same because our main focus is that on the conference. This is just a tabular representation that gives you a quantitative representation of the impact of these conferences and journals in the research community. So CVPR has the most with the highest value in the impact factor and H5 index as well. And the other ones follows the CVPR. Now, a point to note here is that just because ECCV or ICCV have a lower impact factor than CVPR, it doesn't mean that it's easier for it's easier to get your work published in them instead of the CVPR, because all of these top tier conferences are really competitive, and it's actually really hard to get your paper published, accepted and published into one of these conferences. Now, depending on the domain of focus, the top tier conferences in that domain can vary. Like the top tier conferences in computer vision may be different from that for language processing or for other branches like circuit branches or mechanical branches. As far as computer vision is concerned, the major conferences are CVPR, ECCV, ICCV, then we have BMVC, etc. And leading journals in the same domain are IEEE Transactions on Image Processing, and then we have International Journal of Computer Vision. And let's see what about CVPR. Conference on Computer Vision and Pattern Recognition is one of the top tier, the premier conferences in computer vision. It's an event comprising of the main conference and several co-located workshop events and short courses. These conferences are organized by Computer Vision Foundation and IEEE Computer Vision Society. And this CVPR conference spans for over 6 to 7 days. It may change from year to year maybe, and every year this is primarily conducted in one of the prominent cities in USA. So last year, due to COVID-19 pandemic, unfortunately the conference was conducted virtually, and the same goes for this year as well. It's supposed to be conducted, I think, August or something, in June or something. The conference accepts research papers and workshops in domains like object recognition, image restoration, and then we have image enhancement, image classification, etc., and biometrics, face gesture recognition, etc. There will be many, as part of this particular CVPR conference, there will be many invited talks from pioneers in the industry, like Facebook research, then we have Google, Sony, Baidu, Nvidia, etc. And apart from these sessions, there will also be paper presentations sessions for the accepted papers in the conference. And additionally, there is something called as a poster presentation. It can be, a poster presentation can be thought of as a single slide presentation, and it lasts for no longer than a few minutes, maybe a couple of minutes, that's all. But it's key, the key intent of a poster presentation is to give an extended abstract of the work done by that particular author. Next, let's see in detail about European Conference on Computer Vision. It's another premier conference and is co-organized by Springer and Computer Vision Foundation. It's similar to CVPR in most of the aspects as far as a conference is concerned, but the key difference being that ECCV is it's a biennial conference. That is, it's hosted in alternate years. It occurs only once every 2 years. So the focus of area in ECCV conference is similar to that of CVPR, like object detection. Then we have computational photography, we have video analysis, then image restoration like deblurring, haze removal, maybe image classification, biometrics, etc. Now, in these conferences, the paper presentation itself can be categorized into three, like the spotlight presentation, the oral presentation, and the poster presentation. Only the top submissions are selected as spotlight and oral presentations. I think only the top 5% of the papers ends up as the spotlight presentation. And while the rest of the presentations are accepted as poster presentations. Now, to give you a proper idea of the workflow of writing, submitting a paper to these conferences, I am handing over to you, Rishi. Thanks.
Thank you, Densen. Am I audible? Hello? Am I audible?
Yeah, audible.
Thank you, Densen. So next we will see the submission flow of a paper, like basically how we are going to get a paper published in such conferences like CVPR and ECCV. So the first step towards writing a research article is to identify a research problem. It is around this problem that you will be working throughout the research process. Usually, this is done by finding a bunch of research problems or use cases from everywhere, and we are narrowing down into a specific problem of our choice. So once the problem is fixed, you need to gather all the informations that are regarding this problem, the previous works that has happened. And so there is a rigorous process for this, and this process is called as literature review in research methodology. So this is also one of the most crucial part of the research. This is because, like, if we have not done a proper literature review, there are chances that a solution that you propose in the future, like once you complete the research, might be already being put forward by someone else, or you, and then you will be ending up reinventing the wheel. So research is almost invariably a cumulative process where your work is an extension of an existing work. So we should be very careful that a proper literature review has to be done. And also, we can also, apart from doing the literature review in the specific domain, we can also try to do some extensive literature survey on the problems that are similar to what you intend to address. So through these ways, we do the literature review part. So the next phase is all about ideation. So ideation is just the brainstorming part. So here we brainstorm to find solution to the problem statement which we have like fixed. As mentioned earlier, once you do an extensive literature review, you will get some insights on what are the flaws in the existing approaches or how to improve these approaches. So once you ideate, you may have an array of proposals to improve the solution. And if you are if you are constrained by time, you may not have the opportunity to try all of those proposals. Like when you brainstorm, you may get a lot of ideas. So we have to as there will be a time constraint, so we have to check the feasibility of all these proposals and narrow down it into few selected approaches. So once you finalize your idea, you have to develop a methodology and design a workflow to implement this. So the next step after ideation is experimentation. So experimentation is where you test the performance of your solution. It is also where, if it is a computer vision problem or a coding problem, it is where you get into the code. So here you will have to generate an empirical evidence that proves that your solution is competent to the existing previous solutions. As at this step, you will have to simulate the work of previous researchers and see how well their solutions perform on a set of tests, in some of the test cases that we have proposed. It's not necessary that your solution outperforms others in all aspects, but if it outperforms in some aspects, this will do the trick. If not, you will have to if it doesn't work in all the aspects, we have to alternate our proposal and we have to reiterate the whole process. So also certain researchers are intended as every research is not about finding the best solution for a problem. Some researchers are intended as surveys where a detailed study and comment on existing works are done, and this is also published. Once this process is over, you have the empirical evidence to prove the effectiveness of your solution. You can start to work on the publishable artifact, that is the paper. Generally, we call it the paper, the conference draft of the conference paper. So each conference follows its own norms and rules for paper writing, like the number of pages, the major sections, etc. And your paper will have to align with those rules. The paper writing itself is an iterative process where you have to draft your paper, then review it and revise it several cycles. Actually, we have to here we will be discussing the writing the paper, and then we'll ask our peers to review it, and this cycle goes on until we feel that this paper is ready to to be sent to review. So once you have your final revision, you submit the paper to the conference. Then the organizing committee of the conference will have a team of reviewers who will review a paper and comment on any drawbacks of the approach and how to innovate it and make the suggestions to improve the paper. Sometimes there will be a lot of reviews. Sometimes if the paper has been written perfect, near perfectly, there will be much less reviews. If it is a bad paper, there is a chance of rejection. So it is up to them to accept or reject your paper. Usually in the submission process, there's a review cycle with reviewers. With the reviewers itself, there's a review cycle that we have done similar to that which we have done with the peers. So here they will be suggesting your edits, and they will ask us to revise it and then submit it again. So once the final revision with the reviewers is done and if the paper is accepted, then you have to prepare the final paper that is called the camera ready version. So after this camera ready version, you can't make any updates or are not allowed to make any changes. And then in the end, after this camera ready paper has been sent to the team, then we will be having a presentation at the conference where we'll be presenting our work through a PPT, and there will be questions being asked by the audience and all. And after that, finally after the conference, this will be published in the conference proceedings. That will be a booklet or something that will be published after 2 or 3 months after the conferences. So next, apart from this, as you people are new research, like people who are more interested, people are new to this research and all, and you are interested in this. So for start of directly going to a conference will be a hard thing. So in these conferences itself, in these conferences like CVPR and ECCV, they also host many workshops. So these workshops basically focuses on a specific domain that is being there in the conference. That is like conference, a particular conference has a set of domains that it refers to, and a particular workshop in a conference will be addressing a single domain. And some of the examples of such workshops are like entire AICT, etc. So I will be giving much details in the coming slides about these workshops. And so these are basically like entire is mainly focused on image restoration. AICT is focused on object detection and all. So the primary goal of these workshops are to have sessions on a specific domain of focus. So the main thing that happens in these workshops are like sessions by pioneers in the industry that will be happening in a particular workshop. And also another main thing is that people can publish their works in do their presentations and publish their work in these workshops also. Apart from these conferences, they can publish their work in these workshops also. And these workshops will have some for this paper kind of things, there will be best paper award and such kind of opportunities will be there. So they will be the reviewers will be rating the papers that is being submitted to the workshop, and based on that, we will be like person who are applying will be getting best paper award and all. But another major attraction, like for recent past years, the major attraction of these workshops are that they organize various challenges and competitions apart from these papers. So uh, so this is not a common thing for all the workshops. Normally, workshops are in the earlier intent of workshop was to have paper presentations, but recently many workshops are conducting competitions. So the main advantage of these competition is that the problem statement is already defined as the competition has a problem. So the problem statement is already defined. And mostly for past 10 years, learning-based algorithms are the ones that are like exponentially growing in the field of computer vision and all. So data is something which is very important. So the data required for the work is also provided in these competitions. So actually, the main issue that is faced by many new researchers is that the problem they have to point out a particular problem statement for their research, as well as they need the data for that particular problem. So that issue is being solved for you in such workshops. So that major challenge can be overcome with such competitions. And another main thing about this competition is that it gives an opportunity for the people who are participating in these competitions to write a paper or publish a paper in this workshop if it is good enough. So that is a great opportunity for new researchers. And apart from this, there is also perks like cash prizes, internships, etc. And all. So as a whole, workshop is something that is a great thing for people like undergraduate researchers, master researchers, and all. It's actually a stepping like the first step for new researchers into the field of research and academia. Next, let's see. So Densen, can you move to the next slide? Okay. Next, we will see some conferences. These are not all the conferences. I will be giving you a brief idea about three of the conferences, CVPR and ECCV. So first one is New Trends in Image Restoration and Enhancement Workshop. It is a workshop that is based on image restoration. That's a lower level vision task. Image restoration means like I will get into detail later. It is so it is focused on image restoration. So it is hosted by Computer Vision Lab of ETH Zurich. ETH Zurich is a very renowned institution across the world, and also CBL or the Computer Vision Lab is also a pioneer vision, state of the art works in computer vision. So the major focus is on low level vision tasks. These include image restoration and enhancement. So restoration we can be divided like into image deep blurring, image dehazing, super resolution, image denoising, etc. There are many restoration problems I have mentioned a few. And enhancement is actually beautification of the like if we have an image, we have to beautify further enhancement of a particular image is what is meant by enhancement. So these include some examples are high dynamic range, HDR that we see in mobiles, and relighting, bokeh effect, that and all. And these this entire workshop mainly host competition based on that specific domain of image restoration, and the competition have prices varying from like each competition will be having 500 plus USD of cash prize, or sometimes prestigious competition within this workshops may have high-end GPU cards are as given as prizes and all. And the people or the winners or the runner-ups of this workshop competition will have an opportunity to publish their papers in the CVPR workshop proceedings. Next is the Advances in Image Manipulation workshop. This is also conducted by ETH Zurich, and but the only difference is, and the domain is also similar. The only difference is that this is conducted during ECCV as well as ICCV. Here also the price and the like the perks are all the same, and here we get an opportunity to publish our work in ECCV and ICCV workshop proceedings. So finally, one more competition. I think you all will be knowing about Waymo. So when Waymo is the self-driving car making company, like the subsidiary of Google. So Waymo is also conducting, like for past 3 years, Waymo is also conducting a challenge called Open Dataset Challenge. This particular challenge has mainly 3 tracks. One is real-time 3D object detection, real-time 2D object detection, and motion prediction. So most of them are aligned to the autonomous driving part that is an expertise of Waymo. And the main attraction towards this particular challenge is that the total prize pool is nearly 85K of US dollars. And finalists also gets the opportunity to write a workshop paper in the CVPR workshop. So these are just the 3 workshops. Now for giving you a better detail about the CVPR, like the whole CVPR conference, we will just have a walk through to the website of CVPR. So first we will see the sponsors of CVPR. So from that you can understand how big the conference is. You can, like, it has a list of sponsors. You can see that the list goes down a lot, and it has all the major tech giants. It includes Google, Facebook, Intel, Baidu, you name it, that will be there. So that much of sponsors are there for this particular, like, conferences like CVPR as well as ECCV. So this is this shows the magnitude or the reach of this particular conference. Now let's see the registration. So just I want to give you that how big is it. So how big is it? So that's why I just showed you the sponsors. Now let's see the registration process, and it includes, like, for students and all, it's just $50 if you're not doing that. But then we'll be getting yearly just for just $50. The main advantage of registering into such conferences is that these sponsor companies will be having their expos in this particular conferences, and you can go into their expo stalls, and then you can, like, interact with the people who are working there, the research community and all. And there is also chances that there will be opportunities for you to work with them. Such kind of opportunities will also be there. So if you are registering into this conferences like CVPR, apart from getting knowledge about the recent updates in the field of computer vision, there are opportunities for us to interact with the pioneers in the industry as well as new researchers, and also we can also interact with people from many other institutions across the world. So next we will see the program part of CVPR. So there you can see the 2 parts, like workshops as well as the tutorials. So you can see from the workshop, it's not just 3 or 4 workshops, it's actually nearly 25 or 20 plus number of workshops. And it doesn't mean that every workshop doesn't have a competition part, but every workshop will be having a paper presentation part as well as the session part. So once you register in the CVPR, you can participate in all these workshops. You can get, so you can go and hear the sessions as well as you can, like, see the paper presentations. Everything is there. And apart from that, you can, if you check the schedule part, you can see that these workshops, as said earlier by Densen, like these workshops are only for, like, very short duration. It's just 1 day or half day or so. It's just a part of the conference. And apart from workshops, there are also many tutorials. These tutorials are basically a presentation or a webinar on about these different topics in computer vision. This will be done by many pioneers in the industry as well as in the academia. So this is all about like the different programs that happens in CVPR. Apart from these two, there will be the main conference as well as the oral presentations, the spotlight presentation, posters, etc. That will be there. Apart from that, there will be tutorials, workshops, and so on. And now another attractive part of this conferences like CVPR, we are only just showing the CVPR website. It applies the same applies for ECCV. So there's a job portal for CVPR. So there, what happens is that people post, like people in the sense the institutions or academia, like institutions post their postdoctoral opportunities, PhD opportunities, and industries post their like job opportunities and all. So the thing is that you can find a pool of what to say computer vision jobs in this job portal, and if your CV has like the required compliance, if it complies with the skills that they require, you can apply for it, and if you and there is a chance of getting recruited. So another thing is that in these portals and all, if you have a paper, if you have a publication in this current CVPR and all, like this particular CVPR, then there is a higher chance to for you to get hired for a job or something like PhD position or something like that. So this is just a walkthrough to the CVPR website, and finally, let's conclude by So with this, for this past 10 years, there is a rapid expansion in this field of computer vision as a repercussion of this advancement in AI and deep learning or data learning based methods. And so that much of like a large amount of research work is being happening, and this conference serves as a platform to keep us updated on these trends and motivate us to do the same. So these conferences helps us to upskill us as well as advance our career by improving our competency, and we can also like see how well the world is like growing around. So finally, thank you all for having us here, and you can contact us through email, and you can mail us through Hrishikesh. Also, you can contact us through like,
Thank you, Densen and Hrishikesh. That was a really wonderful session and really interesting and engaging one. I think let's now move on to Q&A session. So participants, if you have any questions, you can unmute yourself and ask, or you can type it in the chat box. Seems like we don't have any questions. I think we can end the session here. So once again, thank you so much, Densen and Hrishikesh, for a wonderful session. A big thank you from the Impulse Organizing Committee, and a small note to the audience. You can register for your hackathon. The registration links are available in the WhatsApp group as well as in our website. So kindly use this opportunity to participate in the hackathon. Also, tomorrow's session will be on basics of MATLAB. It will be held from 6 to 8 p.m. So thank you so much, everyone. Once again, thank you, Densen and Hrishikesh. Bye. Good night.